It's a Sunday night in Chicago, November 1987. Somewhere in the city, a family is half watching the 9 o'clock news, the sports report. A man named Dan Rohn is talking about a football game, the way he has 1,000 times before. And then, the picture tears. For a few seconds, the news is simply gone. In its place, a figure. A person in a rigid, grinning mask and dark glasses, rocking side to side in front of a wall of corrugated metal that sways behind them like something underwater. There is no voice, only a hard electronic buzz, the sound a screen makes when something has gone badly wrong. 17 seconds. Then the news snaps back, mid-sentence, as if nothing happened at all. In thousands of homes, people sat forward, called into the next room, asked the same useless question you'd ask. Did you see that? Most of them decided it was a glitch, a fault at the station, the kind of hiccup television does sometimes and forgets. It was not a glitch, and it was not over. 2 hours later, it would come back, and this time, it would speak. This is the Max Headroom incident. Almost 40 years later, it is still the only time someone reached past every lock on American television, put their own face in front of an entire city, and was never, ever found. To understand why this is so unsettling, you have to understand that it should have been impossible. Getting a picture from a television station into your living room in 1987 takes 2 jumps. First, from the studio, a tight microwave beam carries the signal up to a transmitter, usually bolted to the very top of the tallest building in the city. Then that transmitter floods the whole area with the broadcast that reaches your antenna. The weak point is the first jump, that microwave link between the studio and the tower. If you can aim your own dish at that transmitter and shout louder than the studio is shouting, more power, same frequency, the transmitter can't tell the difference. It just repeats whoever is loudest. Engineers call it the capture effect. The strongest signal wins. So to do what this person did, you needed 3 things. You needed to understand exactly how a television station talks to its own tower. You needed broadcasting equipment powerful enough to overpower a professional transmitter. Not a toy, real hardware. The kind that costs money and fills the back of a van. And you needed to be standing somewhere with a clear, open line of sight to the top of 2 different skyscrapers. This was not a kid in a bedroom. This was someone who knew precisely what they were doing and had the money and the nerve to do it. The first hit was the silent one. GN Channel 9, the sports report, just after 9. 17 seconds of a masked figure swaying in a buzzing void and then gone. The engineers reacted fast. They scrambled the frequency of their studio-to-tower link until the pirate signal lost its grip and slid off the air. From the control room, it looked like they'd won. A bizarre 30 seconds, a story for the bar later, an intruder chased off. What they didn't know was that the same person was still out there in the dark with the equipment still warm and was not finished for the night. 2 hours later, across the city, a different channel, BTTW, Channel 11, public television. They were running an old episode of Doctor Who, a serial called Horror of Fang Rock, to whoever was still up watching at the edge of midnight. And the screen tore again. The same masked figure, the same swaying metal wall behind him. But this time, the sound came through, distorted, swimming, like a voice pushed through a broken speaker. But words. He was talking to the city now. And this time, the station could not stop him. Because WTTW's transmitter sat on top of the John Hancock building, unmanned, remote, running on its own through the night. There was nobody up there to fight back. no frequency to scramble in time. So the staff in the control room could do nothing but sit and watch their own channel broadcast a stranger to the city and wait for him to be done. What followed is about 90 seconds of something nobody has ever fully explained. He rambled. He held up a can of soft drink and mocked an old advertising slogan. The very slogan the real Max Headroom character was famous for selling. He sneered at WGN, the station he'd hit 2 hours earlier, and named one of their sportscasters out loud. He hummed the theme to a cartoon almost no one watching would have been old enough to remember. He pulled on a single glove and muttered something about his brother wearing the other one. At one point he said, plainly, "They're coming to get me." And then, in the last seconds, the figure turned, bent away from the camera, and a second person, unseen until that moment, stepped into frame and struck him with a fly swatter. The picture rolled, and Doctor Who came back, as though a door had quietly clicked shut. The whole thing lasted about a minute and a half. People have been trying to read those 90 seconds ever since, because it has the shape of a message. The references feel deliberate. The jab at a soft drink, the rival station named and mocked, the hum of a cartoon, the line, "They're coming to get me." But pull on any of it, and it comes apart in your hands. There is no demand, no politics anyone has been able to pin down, no name, no group, no signature. Nothing was being asked for, and nothing was being threatened. It is built entirely out of private jokes, references that clearly meant something to the person behind the mask, and have never meant anything to anyone else. It looks exactly like a code. Nobody has ever found the lock it fits, and people tried. Hard. What this person did is a serious federal crime. Hijacking a broadcast signal in the United States can carry a 6-figure fine and time in prison. The FCC opened an investigation. The FBI was brought in. The stations and the people who govern the airwaves badly wanted this solved, partly to catch whoever did it, and partly to prove it couldn't be done again. And they had real clues. The physics of the capture effect meant the signal had to have come from a very particular kind of place, high up, with a clean line to both transmitters, somewhere in or just around downtown Chicago. The equipment alone narrowed the suspects to people with genuine broadcast expertise. For a while, it must have felt close. It went nowhere. No equipment was ever found. No one ever bragged in a way that stuck. No one claimed it. Not that night, not the year after, not in any of the decades since, when claiming it would have made someone briefly famous and cost them almost nothing. The internet took the case and never let go. For years, message boards traded theories, slowed the footage frame by frame, tried to read lips behind a rubber mask. In 2010, an anonymous post claimed the whole thing had been pulled off by two brothers, an inside joke that got out of hand. With names, details, a whole story, it was specific enough to feel real and thin enough to prove nothing. And like every other lead before it, it dead-ended in the same place. A maybe, a shrug. And here's the part that actually keeps this one awake. Strip away the rubber mask and the fly swatter and the silliness, and what's left is genuinely cold. For a few minutes on a single night, someone proved they could reach past every safeguard on the most trusted screen in the house and put themselves in front of an entire city. They could have broadcast anything, a threat, a lie, something far worse than a man in a mask humming a cartoon theme. They proved it could be done, and then they chose to do nothing with it, but be strange and vanish. We don't know who they were. We don't know how many of them there were, or whether they're still alive, or whether they've spent the years since watching this clip resurface every so often and saying nothing. We don't know what any of it meant, if it meant anything at all. We only know that for 90 seconds, a city did not control its own screens. Someone else did. And then they handed it back and were never seen again. If you think you know who was behind that mask, and people have argued about it for almost 40 years, tell me in the comments. The next case is already open. All over the world, thousands of people can hear a low hum that no one around them can hear, and no one has ever found where it comes from. Watch with the lights on.